we have it. Okay. Let me just go live on Instagram as well. So, as usual, gonna close that out. It's super early on a Saturday morning. I get it. I'm just called to do a podcast, so I thought, you know what? Let's do it. Good morning, everybody. This is the She's the Owner podcast. I'm your host, Kara McCarran. Welcome to the show. Um, it's funny, we talked about changing the podcast name to the Love Soldier podcast, and I still haven't done it. And I seriously don't know if I'm going to, if that's going to hurt my head, if that's just something I thought I had to do, or if it's something that I think is important to do. I digress. Who knows? We'll see. For now, she's the owner. How's everybody doing on this chilly, if you live in Ontario, Saturday morning? Whatever. You know what? This hair is driving me nuts. Um, it is 7:52 in the morning, Eastern Standard Time, and it's 11 degrees out, which, by the way, feels pretty freaking cold. All right. So the title of this podcast is Why I've Spent Over Six Figures on My Personal Development. And I wanted to have this conversation simply because a lot of you are new to personal development. Some of you, many of you are coaches as well, but a lot of you, and this will apply to you as well, but personal development can be a black hole of a money pit if you let it. And what do I mean by that? I mean that oftentimes people will get this sort of addiction to it, right? Where they're like, sorry, where it's like one thing after another, after another, after another. They're going to an event, to a program, to a coach, to a this, to a that, and come out with really nothing, or I mean nothing a lot of times, right? And this is highly unlikely or unorthodox. I'm just going to close my door though. So hang tight, everybody. I'm not going anywhere, Scotty. Sorry. So a lot of times, like, and I mean, obviously I have a ton of friends in personal development. That's my world. That's my job. That's what I do for a living. And so many times, people get into this rhythm of like going to a gajillion events and going, hiring people and hiring programs and doing all the things, and they actually don't make any changes. And that would bother me, first of all, because I'm conscious of the money I spend. I want to spend, it's an investment. I want it to come back if I'm spending it. So that would frustrate me. But there's definitely times in my personal development journey. So I'll give you like a really high level, maybe not, who knows? We'll see how deep it goes. But on, excuse me, like how my journey, you guys know I hate that word, but sometimes it's the only word that makes sense. Um, Scott, stop it, sir. Into personal development. So I think the very first thing was in, I would say like 2001 maybe, or sometime around there. I met my ex-husband at 1999. So within a couple of years of knowing him. And he had a book called Awaken the Giant Within by Tony Robbins. And I read it. I'm sure I didn't read it cover to cover, but I read it. I read enough to understand what Tony was saying. And in that book, it was very much for me this like awakening to, oh, like I have a choice on how I view my life and how I view my childhood and how I view my things. And it was very like just a sprinkling of awareness, like nothing like I have now. And so, I kind of got this inkling, we'll call it, of, okay, well, there's this other option. I don't have to be suffering all the time, but I'm 20 something. I don't really know what the fuck that even means at this point. So I just kind of read it, sort of marinates in there a little bit, and then I carry on with my life. Fast forward to, I guess it was around 2017, I'm going to say. And we were living in, actually, it was probably before that. I can't even, whenever we were living in a place called Fenelon Falls. And if you know Ontario and you know Fenland Falls, it's a really bumping in in the summertime, excuse me, but in the winter it's desolate and it's really, really, really challenging if you're somebody who likes to be around people. And I was way more social then than well, I mean, I was social then, put it that way. And the interesting thing is I thought this isolation was going to be great and I was really excited and everything's going to be really good. And we had a new baby. She was a year old. She was still breastfeeding. And turns out it wasn't great. It was fucking terrible. It was like The Shining. I kid you not. My husband at the time was writing for some other company. We still hadn't launched the content company. He's writing for a place called Demand Studios or something. And it was brutal. He would work literally like 13 to 15 hours a day just to keep us afloat. I wasn't working. I was raising our children. And it was a really, really hard time. And at that point, somehow I came across Tony Robbins. I don't know if it was an ad that I'd seen or what, because pay-per-click wasn't super popular at the time. So I really have no idea how I came to know about business mastery. And I took it, excuse me, I at that time, sorry, I'm going ahead. It wasn't business mastery. There was an ad, I guess, for his, I don't even know what the hell it's called, to be honest. Like it's one of his signature CD programs. And I thought, okay, I'm going to buy this CD and I'm going to listen to it and all this great shit's going to happen. And so, sorry, I don't know. I'm so throaty today. I listened to it. I wouldn't say that I implemented a lot. I would say I was, just figuring things out. I was trying to understand like the whole concept of everything. And, I took some of it in, some of it, whatever, left. And again, so this was actually 2000. So let me correct myself. This would have been 2010. So way back. So I did this program. It didn't really make a huge difference. I think I started to like, at this point, I'd already learned about the manifestation world and like, manifesting and making shit happen. I'd watched The Secret. So things kind of like, I tried, but I was really lost. Like I had no fucking clue what the hell I was doing with anything, jobs, stuff, nothing, no idea. So fast forward, we launched the content company in 2014 and, so at that point, I think it was probably, I don't know, again, my timeline's kind of screwed, maybe 2017 at that point where I was like, oh, business mastery. So up until this point, I only spent maybe $400 and on personal development and all that time because I didn't really know anything. I sort of knew about Tony, but I wasn't really like actively really understanding the breadth of what he does. So business mastery, again, pay-per-click was just something, popped up an ad, clicked on it. I talked to this guy, Daniel, who I still know, and I might send him a message just based on this podcast. But I talked to him and I was like, hey, well, we have this business now and I really want to do something with it. And I've been following Tony for a while and it's just aligning. Tell me more. So he tells me it's $10,000, but not like Canadian, plus let's say $2,000-3,000 to travel and get there and eat and do all the things. So I'm like, holy fuck, like that's way more money than our business has ever considered spending. It was terribly frightening. Like it was really scary. I was like, there's no way we can do this, but we're doing this. So I said, okay, I'm in. What do we got to do? And so we had a payment plan that we paid. I paid like $900 every month after the deposit. And by the time Business Mastery rolled around, it was totally paid off and I was ready to go. And all these things around that event, like when I think about it, it was kind of crazy. Like I hated flying and I literally was trying to convince Ken, and Ken and I actually, I think were separated at this time, to be honest. We were, because I remember saying to him, let's take a family road trip. Like it's, let's drive to Las Vegas because that's where the event was. I'm in Toronto. That's a long flight for somebody who doesn't like to fly. And so I'm like, yo, let's do this. And I mean, like ladies, I tried to sell the shit out of this concept of let's do a family vacation just so I didn't have to fly. Well, obviously he was like, fuck that. Get your big girl panties on and get your ass on an airplane. So I was like, yeah. And another friend of mine said the same thing. So I did. So that was my first real forte into spending any type of money on personal development, and the rest is history. And when I say six figures, I mean like, multiple six figures, not, enough. I mean, I'll tell you, I probably have spent about $140,000. I not probably, I have spent $140,000 in personal development and trade show things like that. And I don't feel bad about it. I don't feel a way about it. But when somebody asks me to coach them and I say, well, my fee is this much money, I charge 500 an hour to just coach you one-on-one, um, like a random amount, like a random time. It's not an ongoing, that wouldn't be ongoing if you bought package with me. It's quite a bit cheaper if you buy package with me for one-on-one, but that's my one-off fee, right? And like, that's nothing compared to a lot of coaches. But why I feel okay about that is because, well, I just told you I've spent $140,000 on my education, right? That's more than most people spend on college. And when I think about, people who are on the fence, like we're having this retreat in T minus 2 weeks, right? And it was an investment. It's $2,000 ticket. The Florida retreat, or I'm not even referring to it as a retreat. The Florida girls trip, goddess trip, is early bird pricing is 2,000. That's an investment. But when I think about when people, like especially women, when you start to understand that you have to spend this type of money on and investing in yourself, when you start to really grasp that, it can get really exciting. It's daunting. Like, you guys know, I just finished my Manifestation Babe Academy, my MBA in manifesting. And so it's like, when you spend that money, first of all, I always say, like, ask yourself why you're doing it. Like, why are you coming into my mastermind class or program? Why are you coming to a retreat? Why am I going to a Tony Robbins event? Why am I going to a Joe Dispenza? Why am I spending money on it, on the MBA with Catherine Zinkita? That's my always my first question is why. And now for me, my answer is really simple. It's because I know I want to continue to develop my skills. So Kara in 2017, coming straight out of Business Mastery, and Kara August 27th, 2023, spend $144,000 on her personal development education, thousands literally of hours of education in mindset work, in NLP, in leadership training, in healing, and now breath work. Like, they're just radically different people. Not and they're not different. I'm not different. This version of me already existed in the timeline. When we talk about quantum physics, this version of me has already been here, but I stepped into this different person because, as a result of all the work I've done and spending the money. So a lot of times people will say, well, why do you have to, like, I have a family member who doesn't speak to me anymore because he thinks it's all bullshit, and he thinks a whole bunch of really shitty things. So one kid went one way and the other kid went the other way. I chose to go the route of discovering myself and figuring out what stories I'm holding on to that are going to hold me back. And he's chosen to stay firmly planted in those stories. And he'll say things like, oh, well, why is it so expensive, and blah, 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 and all this other bullshit. The reason that now, let me be clear. There are a lot of gouging, there is a lot of gouging that happens when it comes to personal development. And there's a lot of coaches who have fuck all to do with what they're teaching. They've not experienced it. They're fresh out of college, and I'm talking 24, 25 years old. And I'm not throwing shade at those young folks. I think it's beautiful. They want to help and have impact. However, in my opinion, my humble opinion, you have to have some serious fucking life behind you to be able to coach others how to get through it. Like, I'm comfortable to teach, and in fact it's starting to come out in my practice, how to move through a divorce. Well, if you're 23, you have no idea what that fucking feels like. If you're 23 and you've not been pregnant and not lost a child, you don't know what that feels like. Like, there is absolutely merit to time, right? And so our industry is crazy. It's the wild, wild west right now. Lots of really incredible coaches, but there's a lot of shady gougers. So they might say, well, my program costs 10 grand for 3 months, whatever. I was charging those fees. I have no problem with that. But do they know how to move the needle? Like, a lot of times this industry will do things like sell you on 3 months is going to make you 6 figures. I see the ads constantly. And the problem with that, it's not logistics. Like, when you talk about personal development and these coaching programs, and this is kind of like the longest way around it. I want to talk about mindset. People don't understand or don't appreciate maybe that, excuse me, I'm a sip, that personal development to me is ongoing. I'm never not going to be doing it. I will take breaks to implement. That's really important. But people like still will go into the world of personal development with the mindset that it's a bullet. It's like taking a blood pressure medicine instead of fixing your diet. It's like taking an antidepressant instead of fixing your diet and working out and working through trauma. Excuse me. And excuse me. And working through all these things. It's like taking, a weight loss pill instead of changing the way that, notice that everything rolls back to diet, changing your diet, working out, balancing your hormones, working through trauma, working through limiting beliefs, like all these things. So people will sometimes use personal development in that way where they think, I'm going to go to UPW, I'm going to come out, I'm going to be so fucking perfect. Everything's going to be so amazing. Oh, so good. And then they come out and they fall flat on their ass after 3 weeks. And I see this in UPW group, in our main UPW group all the time. So track with me. You're really pumped. Your life feels like it's spinning out of control. You're like, I've talked to Kara, or I've talked to this other person who's talking about UPW, or I'm talking to them about personal development. I'm going to go to this event, and they go to this Unleash the Power Within. Hello, Christina. So they think, oh, fuck, I'm going to go to this event. It's going to be so wicked. I'm going to change my life, blah, blah, blah. They spend 4 days with Tony, and it's absolutely on fire. They literally walk on fire. They learn about all their limiting beliefs and how it's held them back all these years. All this really cool shit comes from it, right? And then they get home, and I can tell you, based on 22 events with this guy already, it usually, within the first week, is when you have this drop of your dopamine, your serotonin, the whole shebang, everything just sort of falls flat. And people think, oh my God, I did this event. Holy shit, it sucks. What happened? I was so high. I was so excited. I was so good. I was da-da-da-da-da. And like, now my life is falling apart. Oh my God, stupid personal development doesn't work. Okay. Nothing changes overnight. That's the first thing I want you to understand. Like, again, $140,000+ in my personal development education, thousands of hours, multiple events, many years. And I still, today, I woke up with a limiting belief around my trip, around the fact that I just joined this new network marketing company called Dream Trips. I'm having massive limiting beliefs around that. So even though I've done all this work, even though I've spent all this money, even though I've done all these events and I've worked on myself all the time and doing the things, blah, 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 you have to guard your mind, right? Like Jim Rohn, who's was a motivational personal development guru, you have to guard your mind. That was his thing. Like, watch who's coming in, right? Don't just fucking let yourself go and like let anything seep in. So after these events, people are really hyped and they think that was it, one hit wonder, right? I did this event. Why isn't my life different? Because it's ongoing. Because new shit, as you start to unpack, that's when new shit will pop up, right? Like I've unpacked this, that, and the other. And then all of a sudden this week, I'm having stuff that I didn't even know was there. And the only way that I know that it's happening is because I've unpacked picture a box, right? And pretend you have 15 books in it. And the bottom book, or the second to bottom book, is a book that you really want to read. And that's what you're looking for. You won't find it until you take 1 through 13 off that stack first, right? So like, think about your personal development. And then when you get to that bottom book, you'll be like, okay, well, I read this book. And then you'll be, oh shit, there's a whole other box I need to unpack. Okay. It's not one box, one time unpacking, get to the bottom of the box and think, oh shit, I found the book. My life is perfect. It's just not like that. And so I find that a lot of times when people will go into these programs, right, they'll either, like, let's say you come into my mastermind back in the day when I did group coaching and it was 3-month containers and you come out of it going, well, nothing changed. I'm not different. First of all, implementation takes fucking time, ladies. Like it's not, I'm going to do it today and then tomorrow everything's perfect. Like I'm implementing things I learned 5 years ago right now. I'm implementing things I learned 5 months ago. I'm not just reading it today and doing it and then seeing the result. It takes time. You need patience. That's such a huge, massive thing, because the problem is the conditioning, right? We've been conditioned as consumers to see these coaches and these programs. I'll get you to, multiple six figures per month in 30 or in 90 days. Unless you have an already existing following on Instagram, and unless you already have an existing where you're already making money in a coaching program, those coaches and those people who sell that should not take new business owners, should not. And I don't understand why they do it. I mean, I do understand why they do it. They're trying to make money. So this whole the whole concept of personal development, like, you have to commit to it. It's a lifestyle, and you have to commit a certain amount of money to it. Like, I'm telling you, this has been proven over and over and over again in our space, in the world, etc. If you don't pay for something, you don't take it as seriously if you did pay for it. I'm going to say it again. If you don't pay for something, you are not going to take it as seriously as if you had paid for it. And that is the bottom fucking line. That is the truth. There is no way around it. I don't care how many times you want to, but it's why is it so expensive? Well, that's up to the person who's selling it. My programs, like my mastermind, it's insanely affordable. It's $197 a month. Like, if you're a business owner or you're a high-level CEO, etc., and you don't know, and you don't feel like that you want to spend, then that's not Kara's pricing isn't going to change that. That's a mindset. And that means you fucking need us more than ever, to be honest. But so it's like, but if the mastermind group, the Facebook group, the lives that I did, if I didn't charge for those, nobody would do the work. The women, our mastermind group is tiny. We're going to blow it up in 2023. But it's small right now, but it's very focused. These women work their butts off in this group. Like, they get homework every week. They fucking do the shit every week, right? But if they weren't paying for it, they wouldn't do the work. Period. They just wouldn't. How many free fucking Facebook groups are you in I have a free one, right? It's a private Facebook community. There's about 500 women, and it's actually, the group sucks. They're not engaged. And they all joined for the reason that I'm telling you right now. And it's like, they don't do any of the work because it's free. They don't care. There's no skin in the game, right? Every time I commit to a program and I have skin in the game, holy shit, do I work that program? Do I work that event? Do I, et cetera, et cetera. When I have a personal one-on-one coach, which I don't have at the moment, and she or he gives me homework, you bet your ass I do it, because I've invested money into it. It's no joke. So it's like, and then the other part of it is the mindset around your personal development journey, period, right? Like, what's your mindset around it? Are you just doing these programs and these events just to tick shit off of a list and say, like, see, I did it? And because a lot of times that's what will happen too. Like, people who will do some certain things in personal development are doing it almost like a self-sabotage. See, I did this program. I went to UPW and it didn't work. See, what's the point? It didn't work because you didn't fucking work it. How about that? Like, that's the truth. You want to know the truth about when things don't work when you do personal development stuff? It's because you didn't do the work. Period. It's not, sometimes definitely it's the program. But let's just let's just talk about one that you can't really pick apart. Or with me, I give really, really specific homework to my clients when I do one-on-one coaching. And if they turned around and said, it didn't work, I didn't change anything, nothing was wrong, then they're full of shit. And I can, just like if I did the same thing, I would be full of shit. Why do I say they would be full of shit? Because if you do the work that's prescribed, you will see a change. It might not be a massive, earth-shattering, and P.S., typically, personal development does not work like that. You're not going to have every day these massive breakthroughs. You're going to have micro breakthroughs that lead up to big changes. But like, if the person goes to an Unleash the Power Within event, or they come out and they're like, oh, it was bullshit, I didn't change anything, that's a them problem. That's a them problem. That's a you problem. If that's you and you're like, oh, it doesn't work, and oh, that's a you problem. It's not the content, it's you. And as soon as we accept that, as soon as we sit in that and say, okay, you know what? Actually, it is me. That's actually when growth will really happen for you. If you're blaming the content creator and you're blaming the coach and you're blaming Tony Robbins or Byron Katie or Joe Dispenza or Jim Rohn or, Napoleon Hill or whoever, Marie Forleo, Mel Robbins, if you're blaming all of them for not having success in your personal development journey, that's a you problem. And it sucks. And it's hard for some people to hear that, but that's the truth. Because people, like I've said this a gajillion times, there is no massive new thing. I don't say anything that Tony hasn't said. Tony hasn't said anything that Jim Rohn hasn't said. We all say, like, if you're in this world and you're committed to changing lives, which obviously the people I just mentioned are, myself included, we have done the work, right? What we're saying is what we all say, because those are the concepts that change lives. Those are the concepts that work. So I'm not saying anything radically new, but it'll land different for one person than another. The bottom line is, like, if you are in personal development and you're working towards finding yourself and being happier and really ending suffering, it starts right fucking here. It's not someone else's job to change the way you have perspective on certain things. It's not somebody else's job to say, you know what, you can stop suffering. And that's something, like, through this divorce the last year, like, this has been a wild fucking year. Wild in my healing. And I'm not even done. I feel like I'm on the cusp of, like, going over the top of the hill and maybe making my way down now. But it's been a wild year. And nobody else is going to, I can't look to Byron Katie I do the work constantly, but I can't look to her and be like, if she doesn't fix me how I feel about this divorce, well, she sucks. It's insane. It's insane. And there are still so many of you and so many people that will still have that attitude that she didn't do this for me, therefore it's on her that I don't feel better. It's not. It's on us. It's on you. It's on me. And taking responsibility for that is absolutely fucking step one. There's no other step. Take responsibility for how I'm behaving in a situation. Take responsibility for how I'm feeling in a situation. Take responsibility for all of it. All of it. Right? And so when you're looking at personal development as a whole, it's still a tool. Just like ayahuasca might be a tool, just like, all of the things, just like working out might be a tool, just like journaling might be a tool. It's still a tool. Personal development as a whole in your life is a tool on how you're going to move through a lot of the stuff that you're moving through. But it's still ultimately up to you. And I think when I hear, when it comes to personal development and so many people use that as the crutch, it's dangerous, because first it gives the industry a bad rep. But then it locks you into, you're still giving control to someone else for your healing and for your development, right? Like, I have friends who will say, I just need to go to another Tony Robbins event. I'm not saying don't go. But as long as you're believing that it's that event that's going to change you, and as long as you're believing it's down the road, or it's always that tomorrow I'm going to do this and then I'll be fine, you're fucked. Like, there's no other polite way to say it. If that's your mindset, you're fucked. And so do stuff today. Like, there's no reason you can't. I mean, shit, like, I'm on my second round. Today's day 10 of my second 30-day consistency challenge. I'm not doing it for literally anyone else but myself. Why? Because if I don't stick to it in this way, it doesn't get done. I won't meditate, I won't do my visualization, and I won't do my journaling and intention setting. So for me, I'm not saying I'm waiting until such and such. Like, how many Sunday nights roll around? Please put your hand up if this is you. How many Sunday nights roll around, or Sunday mornings, better yet, when you're like, okay, Monday I'm going to start eating properly. I do it every fucking other week. I'm going to eat better. And then you buy a bunch of food, and then you do a bunch of meal prep, and then you eat 60% of the stuff that you made, and the other 40 goes in the trash. This is the same concept with personal development. Well, as soon as I read that book, or as soon as I this, as soon as I that, no. Like, you literally, if you just sat with it and you asked yourself this one question, what are my limiting beliefs around X? You don't need to go to an event. I mean, I highly recommend it. And you know, I'm an advocate, obviously, for having coaching programs and masterminds and all that. But literally, like, you could sit there with no freaking money right this second, August 27th, 8:21 a.m. One question. What is my limiting belief around work? What is my limiting belief around my body? What is a limiting belief around my finances? What is a limiting belief around my relationship? One question costs you no money. And you can sit there in that question for hours. And what will happen is it'll start to unpack, right? We talked about the box. You'll take the one book out, another book out, another book out. And at the bottom of it, you'll be like, holy shit. So do I advocate for diving deep into personal development? 1,000%. It has radically changed my life. There's no other way to say it. Like, every single thing that I have in my world over the course of the last 5 years are because I've invested in myself. It's because I've seen the opportunities in front of me to grow, and I do it. There's no such, like, you can do, like, again, if you're sitting there, well, I don't have the money. Well, okay, well, maybe that's your very first fucking limiting belief, sister. Not maybe, it is. I don't have the money to do personal development. Okay. And then you do the work on it, right? Byron Katie's 4 questions. Is that true? Can you absolutely know that it's true? How do you behave? What do you act like when you're busy believing the story? Hey, Scott, I think he sees one of his friends. Busy believing the story. And then who would you be without the story? I don't have money for personal development. There, free coaching session. But if you're always waiting for when I have money or when that's, start right now. I literally just gave you your first assignment. I promise you that is an earth fucking shaking assignment. But when you make the decision, like, I'm going to change my life, it cannot be like, this is what I kind of want to wrap it up with, because Scott sounds like he might be getting whiny. Once you make the decision that, you know what, I'm going to change my life, the decision isn't and cannot be, I'm going to do one thing and then expect a result. That is not how life is. That's not how anything is. That's not practicing. This is a practice just like yoga. This is a practice just like meditation. This is a practice just like working out, eating properly, all of it. So when you've decided, you know what, I'm actually going to take control over my life, and I'm going to stop acting like I'm a fucking victim, and I'm going to stop acting like everybody else has done shit to me, and I'm going to take responsibility. Understand that this is your new life. This is a new lifestyle. This is not a one-hit wonder. And as soon as you make peace with that, and all of a sudden you're like, holy shit, okay, this is actually very exciting. Once you just accept that your personal development is an absolute, it's a piece of the puzzle that doesn't end, then that piece can be gone. Now you can just take a deep breath and be like, okay, this is my lifestyle now. I'm always going to be involved in some type of thing to help me grow. And it doesn't have to be aggressive things. Like, I take breaks. Like, I haven't had a one-on-one coach in I'm going to say 3 years probably now. I'm craving one, and I know who I'm going to work with when it's time. But I haven't had one in that, because I've been doing group coaching programs, right? And that's fine. But there's times when you don't have to be like aggressively doing your personal development. But it's like, once you turn that faucet on, it stays on. It might, flood sometimes, and it might just be a little bit of a drip or a little bit of a stream. But once you decide to turn the personal development faucet on, it stays on for life. And the other thing I will say is that in the beginning, excuse me, it might still feel like you might get little nuggets and crumbs, like Hansel and Gretel, crumbs of personal development, but you still have this propensity to blame and to stay in victimhood. I promise you, you're never going to move the needle as long as you're busy believing that you're a victim to your circumstance. Ever. Ever. So the quickest way out of victimhood is actually acknowledging that you're in it. Acknowledge the fact that, you know what, I'm actually sitting here feeling sorry for myself. I did an entire podcast on this last week, I think it was. and acknowledge that, okay, I'm actually sitting here feeling sorry for myself. And like, and again, I'm going to just preface, or I didn't preface, but I'm going to preface it with, everybody has moments of feeling sorry for themselves, and everybody has those, especially women, right? We're emotional tornadoes, and we're this beautiful ocean of emotion. So definitely we have moments where we're like, oh my God, I feel so sorry for myself. And I actually use those moments to really cry my ass off because it needs to come out. So there's nothing wrong with that if it's once in a while. I definitely don't spend a lot of time in that zone where I'm just sobbing my face off. Let me just remind you too, like, I'm leaving soon. Oh, my dog just saw his dog friend, Scott. It's okay. I'm leaving soon for a month, and bet your ass I'm going to have some feeling sorry for me moments. Part of me me leaving or going on this month away is to create distance between me and my ex-husband, physical distance, because he and I are extremely codependent on each other emotionally-ish, but we're just very used to each other, and it's not healthy for either person. So do you not think I'm going to have a feel sorry for myself moment when I go? Fuck yeah. Plus my kid, right? My 13, I'm less sad about that because she's so wildly supportive of this time away. It's insane. Like, I wish everyone could be blessed with having a daughter like this. She's just so unbelievable. Scott, nope. He sees my friend's dog, Hazel. Scotty, come. So I digress. You know me going off on my tangents. But the first way is just really acknowledging, like, hey, I actually do participate in this victimhood thing, and it's not going to help me. And so outside of having your moments of crying fits just for whatever, if that's your zone and that's where you tend to live most of the time, then definitely, like, you're never going to move out of any into anything that you want. Suffering is still going to be your emotional home. So just acknowledge, it's not about I went to this event and it didn't work. It's I went to this event. What tools did I take from it? What I went to this mastermind group for the year. What tools did I come out with? I went to this, Love Soldiers Goddess retreat. Now our goddess retreats are just fucking play. We're not there to, but they will learn something. Something will come out of that. There'll be some, I mean, we're doing healings, we're doing fire ceremony, stuff like that. And so some learning will come out of it. But if they go to a retreat and go, well, that didn't make me feel good, or that didn't, like, then you're just looking for things to piss you off because you're still in the victim mindset. And that, I always want to just remind you, like, none of what I'm talking about, personal development, is not comfortable. It is not meant to be a spa treatment. It's meant to fucking push you, because, like, this is the thing. I often get caught up in, like, why? Well, I did this, so, like, what's the result? Well, the result for me is, like, I manage my emotions very, very well. Not perfect. And with the ex, I still get very triggered by him. He really drives me crazy. But, like, by and large, I can manage my emotions really well. When you manage your emotions really well, you manage life really well. Not a lot of things nothing spins me out of control. My own mind will spin me out of control sometimes. But if you learn how to manage the emotions, then your whole life will change. And that didn't come because I went to one event. That came because I've gone to one after another, coach after coach, coach after coach, program after program, right? Mastering your emotions is the number one thing. And then once you come out of victimhood, you have to manage your fucking emotion and manage reality. Okay, well, I've been playing this victim for 15, 20, my whole life. Okay. So that feels uncomfortable. So if I'm doing it, and then maybe you feel shame around that knowledge, maybe you feel sadness around that knowledge, maybe you feel anger around that knowledge. If you're not mastering your emotions and moving through them, not just squashing them, that's really different. But if you're not able to manage through that emotion, you're going to be stuck in victimhood forever. And that's a shitty, shitty place to be. And no amount of personal development is going to change that. That decision has to come from you. And the reason I think it's so, a couple of reasons why that's such a hard thing for people to really let go of is, if you are a victim, then you get to blame the world for how fucked up your shit is. That's number one. But it's comfortable, right? People are very comfortable in their victimhood, right? If I can be a victim, and I know that game, I know that fucking game. I don't have to figure out how to be empowered. I don't know that game. So I know victim game. I can play that game with my eyes closed. And so, Tony says it. I'm sure Jim Rohn said, many gurus have said it, that human beings tend to go toward, we will do whatever we can to avoid pain instead of going toward pleasure. Like, hear that concept for a second. I would rather do things to avoid feeling shitty, i.e. quit eating bad, because that will make me feel bad in the moment because I don't get to have my yucky food, versus going toward, if I stop eating this shit food, I'm going to feel amazing, right? There's a line in the sand this way. And one way is I'm going to avoid giving up my crutch, because giving up my crutch feels like garbage and I don't want to feel like garbage. Instead of, okay, if I give up my crutch and I go that way, that direction, oh, look at that. I've lost 30 pounds and I have more energy and I have better skin and So human beings fundamentally will do the avoid the pain instead of go toward the pleasure thing. Personal development is going toward the pleasure. That's it. So many people will avoid it. They'll avoid leaving victimhood. Why? Because they know they're avoiding leaving. Because when you leave victimhood and you start really diving into your personal development, you are 100% responsible for everything in your life. And that's a harder pill to swallow for most people than it is to just sit in the shit for the rest of their lives. And so when I talk about why personal development and what kinds and what's the point and all that, it's a conscious decision that I'm not going to let myself live this shitty life where I'm blaming everybody else for all the problems that I have. It's a conscious decision to say, you know what, I'm about service. That's another beautiful thing that comes from personal development. You really start to see it's not about me, because that world will teach you really fast. If you're still focused on just yourself only, you're not growing. Like, that's another massive reality. If you are in it, if you're going to events and you come out and you're like, oh, it's me, you're going to see that that's a fancier version of being a victim. It's not about you. Human beings are here to give to each other. We're not here to squander and take all the shit and not share it and not share knowledge and not share abundance and not share energy and not share love. We're not built that way. We're built to share it. And so if you're going into personal development, you're beginning your journey, like maybe you've just come to this podcast, maybe a friend of yours has said, hey, come listen. And you're thinking, oh, this is going to fix me and I'm me. You'll learn really quickly that the me attitude is the thing that's basically cock blocking you, right? So if you're new to this industry or you're new to this journey and you're new to your next chapter of really looking at self and really figuring out what makes, like, what you've done to this point that's making you feel like shit, just understand that if there's a point where it has to be bigger, the reason people are happy, excuse me, I'm sitting up better here. The reason, like, I feel so happy most of my time, most of my life, most of my day, most of everything is because I'm in service to other people. And that feeds me and feeds my soul. Like, that's a big difference between, I better do this because I want to make money. I want to make money. Don't get me wrong. Don't at me. Don't get it twisted. But me serving is still my very top first priority. And I would never have even understood what that meant had it not been for personal development. Tony talks about that all the time. Be in service of others. Like, in business, that's why businesses win when they're about the customer, about serving the customers. The business owners, the ones of you that are not successful, I can tell you 1,000,000%, it's not because you don't know how to do a funnel. It's not because you don't know how to do your marketing. It's not because you don't know how to build a fucking website. It's because you're not in service of your clients. You're not in service of your customers. You're all about making money for you and you alone. And that will always lose. Always. And it will lose in different ways. Maybe you won't get customers, whatever. Maybe if you're still about you, you're not healed to a place, right? You haven't done the inner work. You haven't done the mindset work to really understand that you're here to give. Humans are here to give to one another. We're not here to take it all in by ourselves. It's just not how it works. So I would never have understood the concept of service in this deep way. I would never have come to realize I want to serve women and help them out of suffering had I not done personal development, had I not invested in my, and that's what happens. Like when I work with women, you see them come in one way and then you see them go out the other way where they're like, I just want to help people. Right? That doesn't happen just sitting there pissing and moaning about your life. I'm sorry, it doesn't. So if personal development is something that you're interested in, understand that it's a lifestyle. From today on, if this is your first time listening to this podcast or watching me live or listening to me on Facebook or whatever, from this day, from this moment on, this is your new lifestyle. Don't like understand that you're not going to do one thing. You're not going to listen to one person. You're not going to listen to one event, one podcast, one whatever. It's an ongoing process. Just think of it like it's the gym for you. And don't beat yourself up if you fall off the wagon. That's humanity. That's human nature rather. But understand that it's not, I went to one event or I listened to one podcast and now I'm good. That's not how it is. And be willing to invest in it, guys. Like if you're not investing in your personal development, and I said it at the top of the show, honestly, if it's free, you're not going to work it. Do you know how many free fucking masterclasses I've signed up for in my day? And I know this shit and I still don't show up. Like there's something that happens. And I do masterclasses and I love them. We're going to be doing a series of 12 in the next little while. I love them. They're a lot of fun. But again, when I'm coming at a master class, I'm coming at it from a deep place of service. Like I want those women to walk away from 1 or 2 hours with me for free, coming away going, oh my goodness, holy shit, I hadn't thought of that. Oh my God, that's a good place to start. Like it's about deep value for the person who's listening. But when they're free, you could have 30, 40 women sign up and 10 will show up. Why? Because it's free. So be willing to invest in your personal development. Like that's just the bottom line. Okay. That's it for me today. I'm taking the kids to the beach. And that's it. That's all. I love you guys so much. Sorry. You know why? It's because I'm having dairy in my coffee. It makes me like sick. Okay. Have an amazing rest of your weekend. And I will see you when I see you. Bye.